Hello everyone, my name is Kaly and I'm the Senior Graphic Designer for the University of Alabama. And today I'm going to present on graphic design tips for non-designers. To start the presentation, I have a quote from Saul Bass that's "Design is thinking made visual." For our first tip, I have limit your typefaces. So when you select a typeface or a font for headings, subtitles, body text, use an easy to read font for simple and effective graphic design. The eye finds it hard to scan multiple typefaces, so stick to a simple collection of fonts. If you can't use just one font family, such as if you have a monster bold and then a thin version for your body copy so that it all stays within the family, stick to using novelty fonts only on headlines if that's appropriate. Rule of thumb, two fonts, three very max if you're needing to do pull quotes or some sort of like infographic text, but typically max out at two fonts. If you're not great at font pairing, or if that's something that just fonts in general aren't your thing, there's some really great resources online that can help you with these pairs and which ones look best together. It'll actually show you examples of how each pairing looks. The ones I like the most are fontpair.co, fontjoy.com, and typewolf.com. Typewolf will have some options for the Adobe fonts. Font Pair is mostly Google fonts, but all are free or included with your subscription to Creative Cloud. So hopefully these resources will be easy to at least play around, get more comfortable with fonts, get more comfortable with what sort of things look good together. Notice, if you have a serif and a sans serif and how they're used together and, which ones look best as headlines and body copy and what you're trying to achieve with the overall look and feel of your piece. These will be some great resources to sort of fill that out and play around to get more comfortable with which typefaces you want to use on your own projects. For the second tip, embrace white space. And when I say white space, I don't literally mean the color white, though it can be, but it's more so the space around your elements to give them breathing room. Here's an example with a pull quote, and it does have a literal white space around it. But as you can see, having the space to let it breathe, it really becomes a show-stopping element to the design itself. You don't want to overcrowd your elements because as soon as you do, everything gets really cluttered. It's difficult to read. There's no hierarchy. You don't know where people should look first, second. They might miss something or totally overlook a really important detail, such as if you were to do an infographic or if you wanted to really call out a pull quote or a certain number. Use the breathing room and the space between elements to draw the eye to the places that you want them to really hone in and focus on. A great example is one that I found online that shows just how the crammed type, it almost, you don't want to read it at all because it's too much going on. So the left, you don't want to just have it all text based, have it where when you really want to pull out specific points that they have to dive in and really, really look for the things you want to call out. When you could do something as simple as doing bullet points to help the reader quickly scan the text and get all of the information that you want presented to them at the forefront. And it's easily digested, it's easily remembered. It's a quick, glance at the page and you're hitting your high marks just by the organization and white space. For a third tip, it's readability. And when I say readability, I mean mostly contrast, putting light text on a dark background or dark text on a light background. Just make sure that what you put on your design is really readable because that's the most important aspect to the piece that you're doing is you can make it look as beautiful as you want, but if no one gets the information they need from it, it's not successful. So just be really mindful when using darker backgrounds and also with using some of the decorative fonts. If you're going to do that for a headline, it might be too difficult to read on a photo background, for instance. And so just really pay attention to, is this going to be difficult to read if someone's just glancing by, because you don't want anyone to miss the headline. Like if they're flipping through an ad in a magazine, you want to make sure that they catch that really thought out headline that you constructed and put together. And so by ensuring that the text is readable, not only through color, but also through just the font you choose itself on top of an image, is going to ensure that your design is successful. Number 4 is alignment. And alignment is so much more than just text alignment, which we all are, Microsoft Word, you've got your different options, whether you want left or center or right or justified or any of those options. It actually pertains to every single thing within the design itself. Alignment allows us to create order and organization. And when you align items, it actually lets the viewer know that there's a visual connection between these items. So if you want to group a photo and say a caption together, you're going to align that caption with the photo itself so that people understand that those two elements go together. You can use alignment as a way to organize the document if in a way that you want people to read step 1, step 2, step 3. And you can also organize it in a way with photos themselves and create that visual hierarchy where you want the most important thing read to be the first thing you see on the page. And you can do that with color, alignment, font size, but they all work together into creating cohesive design. Make sure everything is intentional. And if things are out of line, make sure that that's to be used in a way that's to create that hierarchy and that visual sort of the only reason it's out of line is because you want someone to notice it first. And that only works in select types of designs and make sure that when you do misalign something that you have a good intention for that misalignment, because it is something that's going to catch the eye. And if something's out of line that shouldn't be, then you're throwing off the entire hierarchy of the design itself. Here are a few types of alignment. We've got horizontal, vertical, center, and edge. I will say edge is probably the one used the least, but it's good to know that that is an alignment option that you can use, and it does create a type of alignment and a type of organization that you might not think about, but it is one where, the top and the side are both aligned. Some types of alignment are not as simple as just, oh, okay, well, we're going to align everything to the left. Sometimes you have visual alignment, where if a certain font has a lot of open space on the end, such as this script font, you need to kind of visually align. Now, very rarely will you need to visually align something, and I actually would recommend not trying to visually align things unless it's specific instances as this, because there are tons of tools within each. Preferably as a designer and receiving design files from other people, we like for things to be within the Creative Cloud and anything that Adobe has. It's just the most designer friendly and it's the most powerful sort of design tools. But even if you're organizing things in like Canva, make sure you understand how to use the alignment tools, because those will save you so much time. And you'll know for a fact that things, instead of eyeballing it, they're actually being mathematically aligned. Everything's going to be really precise based off of grids and axes. And so it won't throw anything off within the design. As I spoke about earlier, if things are misaligned, it's to create a focal point. And this is a great example of how that can be used. Just know that as soon as something's out of line, that immediately becomes the first place your eye is going to go. So really, really be mindful and intentional with misaligned text. For number 5, just be inspired. Look at the design around you, look on Pinterest, create mood boards. Every single thing that you see out in the world, well, unless it's greenery, but even that's landscape artistry at some point, there's inspiration in everything. And so just find different websites that you like, find different print pieces that you like, see how someone used a typeface and see how it really ties in with the images or even the images themselves. Really take note of the things that catch your attention so that you can kind of stockpile. And when you're designing something in the future, you can go, oh yeah, that was really successful. Let me try and mimic that in my own piece. Let me take inspiration from that and see if I can make it work for my own creative. I recommend having even folders on your desktop, or if you're scrolling through Google, just have an inspiration folder. You save it to it, throw it in there, have Pinterest, have, if there's a running Word doc you like having where you just drop things in, if it helps you when you sit down to kind of think about a project and things that you want to achieve with it, at least you've got this inspiration that can help you become more creative just because you're no longer looking at a blank page. You've got sort of a foundation of things that achieve goals that you would like to achieve and see how they successfully do it and see how you can sort of pull in some of the techniques that they use in a unique way. Number 6, have a plan. So now that you're inspired, now that you have everything that you like in front of you and you're ready to sit down before even opening up Illustrator or InDesign or anything that you're working in, have a plan, sketch it out. Um, Sometimes this will help you, kind of work out the kinks in a design before wasting any time working in programs that you're not super comfortable with. But at least a pen and a piece of paper is something we've been using for most of our lives at this point. And so just a rough sketch help you plan out things, helps you see the kind of area you need for copy. If you're the one creating the copy as well as doing the design yourself, mapping it out can kind of let you know how much you need to write. And if you want to add a logo, like it helps you just remember to put specific elements on the page before getting too deep into the programs themselves. Just keep your mood board handy. You don't have to stick to your layout, but at least it's a start. It's a good sort of roadmap for what you want your finished product to be, and that can always divert a little bit, but at least you've got a plan once you open up your new document. Number 7, and I would say the most important of all, is use your resources. Working at universities, I'm sure you all have great teams. For us, our StratCom division has design templates for the university faculty and staff to use for any way that they see fit for the programs that do feel overwhelming. Um, but also, there are different like LinkedIn Learning or lynda.com or Skillshare. There are a ton of resources that you can really hone in and learn more about the programs that you need, and it can help with template-based things, or if you don't know how to align something like we were talking about, if you don't know how to insert a photo in a certain way, there are tons of tutorials online and tons of resources. Even just Googling different YouTube videos or see if someone has a step-by-step sort of walkthrough of, hey, how do I do this specific thing I'm trying to do? Or, if you're having struggle exporting for printing or exporting for web or doing all these things, there are so many resources out there that can help you with each of your little, and even if it feels like a silly question, I guarantee someone's asked it before. And so just do a quick search. And if not, then there are tons of resources on campus where you can just say, hey, I know this is possible. Can you help? Can you send me in a direction on where I should look? And a lot of times too, they could send you to your templates page that you're putting in so much stress and effort when your university has these resources ready for you to use and really user friendly. So don't be afraid. If I had to leave any tips, don't be afraid to use the Adobe suites. I know that, it's not something that we all learned how to use super early on, but if you could just take your time and really learn how to utilize those programs in the long run, it's going to be so much easier for you. And all of these templates that feel a little maybe intimidating will become so much easier. And when these are set up, just know that it's for beginners in mind. And so it's really just a simple copy paste with your text and then insert an image and you're good to go. I know it looks overwhelming at first, but anytime you have those questions, like I said before, there are tons of resources, even just InDesign Basics or Photoshop Basics, even just setting up a document, that can all be found through these great resources that we have. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that these tips were helpful, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks.